I always like that song. It kind of gives me those vibes, just sitting back and relax. But today we're here on the Russ Meek Speaks show. I have a distinguished guest here, Ron Givens. We're going to be talking a little bit about Ron, what he's done, how he's changed mountains and moved worlds, and get a little information to go from there. But I'm Lester Blair, the guest host today on the show. And Ron, tell me a little bit about yourself, what you do, what we do, and how do we make new billionaires?
Well, I appreciate the fact of that introduction. I'm from Peoria, Illinois, and I've lived there. Sorry?
P-Town.
Yeah, P-Town. And everybody knows there's a number of things. Number one, they talk about where Richard Pryor came from. And the other thing is I'm in the city across the river, which at one time was very racist. Not nearly as racist as it is right now. But that's where my main office is, and we've been treated very well as a company. And from the company standpoint, I've got a history that a lot of people are envious of. I've done a lot of things. It's made me a considerable amount of influence, both financially and as a person. But I bought one company back in 1998, and at that time, that company only had 5 people in it, and that was JM Industrial Supply, and that became the mainstay for what happened here in the future.
Okay.
But as far as me personally, I started the business. I am one of few minority owners that can boast of a pretty high arena in the manufacturing of Caterpillar tractors business.
Okay.
We do a considerable amount of business with them, and we'll talk a little bit about how that happened here in a few minutes. But the main point is that all my life I've grown up in Peoria. I had a scenario that started it off back when I was 13 years old. I actually was out in the backyard raking leaves with my dad, and I started thinking, what am I going to do as I go along here? And one of the things that I said is, I think I'll put together a plan mentally, and I'm 13 years old.
Okay.
Put together a plan here mentally of what I want to do. And so I started to ask him questions about his life. He had a high school graduation. He went to the Army, and of course he came back and just went to work at the factory there, which most people did. And then, of course, he and my mother married, and I'm the oldest of 3 children that they had. Mm-hmm. And this plan that I started putting together was very similar in the beginning to what he did, but I wanted to do it better. Okay. I wanted to do everything better. And so at that point, the first thing I said, well, I want to be in the Marine Corps. I want to drive race cars. I want to be a police officer. I want to be financially set. He's a 13-year-old, and I want to be in business with my son. I have no children at 13 years old.
You're just planning here.
I'm just
I
planning.
Can see this now.
And so then, as I went along, I had opportunities. I went to college. I went to University of Illinois at Springfield, and I attended a number of classes at Bradley.
Terrible place.
Terrible place. But it was a lot of fun, you know. And so finally I was able to enlist in the Marine Corps. And after the first 7 years, I had completed my years, and they were asking for extensions. So I said no. I wanted to get out. So I went ahead and got out, and I went back to my old job for a while, which was learning a trade. And that was also a part of the plan, is to learn a trade. Mm-hmm. So there was a company there called Fleming Potter. Fleming Potter was the only company that printed on foil on a 70-inch sheet of foil.
Okay, this is in Peoria.
In Peoria,
okay.
Yeah. So I got in there, got my job, and they held it. They held it, which was the law. And when I returned, one day I was there working, and I thought, man, this really is good, because I made more money than my father made.
I've made it here.
Yeah. So it became apparent that things were going well for me, because I was single. And I decided, well, let me try out for the police department. And
in Peoria.
In Peoria, yeah. And I tested, and I got on the first time, and I did 23 years on the police department and retired. Well, that in itself is something that, we want to keep it in the back of my mind when this thing all comes together here. So I was next thinking, well, how can I continue to do my plan? So we had a reserve unit there in Peoria, and I was coerced into going back in to the Marine Corps.
Okay.
So I went back into the Marine Corps and retired from the Marine Corps with 25 years. And I thought, okay, well, this is good, the way it was set up, because it didn't interfere with the police department job. And I then went and decided that after working at the police department, I was going to do something in addition to that. Because most people who retire from the police department become security guards. It's one way or another.
Being African American down in Peoria, hey, where else are you going to go?
Right. So I thought, what can I do? Because I got my steady income over here. What part-time scenario can I put together that will augment what I do once I do retire? So I ended up, and it's ironic, my mother's insurance guy was coming to talk to her. And I listened to him. He was a metropolitan insurance guy. Back then, of course, they collected money. And I sat there and listened to him, and I said, that sounds like a pretty good deal. Because I had a good gift of gab, and people told me I was very personable. So I thought,
I can do this.
I can do that, So I tested at 3 different companies, because you had to do a test. And each one of them told me that I was very, very, would be very good at that job. Well, I didn't believe them. But I went ahead and said, okay. So I decided to go with Metropolitan Insurance Company, which led me into the financial planning piece of work. Mm. So I worked with them for a number of years. And of course, for those who are familiar with the way insurance works, is if you do the right thing and have the right insurance program and the right insurance company, you get renewals for as long as a person is alive and even after you quit, which is what I'm getting also.
Right, still got lifetime renewals coming through.
You're getting lifetime renewals. And so I did that, and the market that I went after was very easy for me, because not only was I a police officer, but I became the police department's insurance guy.
Oh gosh!
So there were at that time 260 police officers, right?
Okay.
That was part of my prospecting was that.
Yeah, pretty much. I got this book here. Hey.
Yeah, so I had a book of business right off the bat, and it grew and grew and grew. And as I said, the majority of the police officers I insured are still alive, and so I'm getting money.
I still got the renewals coming
Yes.
through. I got the book that's there. Hey, I even get to chat with them from time to time.
Right. So it went on, and I became quite successful. Well, the biggest contract that I ever wrote was the city of Peoria, the actual city of Peoria. I insured.
Okay.
So that was it. In regard to the health insurance, I insured everybody that worked for the Peoria city of Peoria.
Okay.
So I mean, it was just excellent.
Right. You got a big book here. Got the city premiums coming through. So
Yeah.
nice dollars.
Yeah, well, I did that. And so then this financial planning scenario happened, and so we had to test. I became a registered stockbroker, and I did that.
You did
along with
Series
interest.
7?
Yeah, we got to be up there. So
Okay.
I had a unknowingly a great plan going, because it's perfect now, and I'll tie it in. So each step that I went along, from being age 13, that I put a plan together, unknowing to me, it would come back to me now.
Mm.
And so I thought, how do I do all of this? And I've been asked a number of times, was I ever home? Because I worked all the time.
It's like, I got a wife here, got a kid. It's
I
okay.
have a wife, and we have one son. And
That's why you only have one son.
yeah, that is exactly right. And little did I know at that point that the business part of what I wanted to do, being business, I didn't know what kind of business I wanted to be in, but I just said I wanted to be in business with my son. So there was a couple lead-ins that kept that on my plate. He went to college, and while and before he went to college, he worked at the company.
Okay.
And I was a policeman. I was selling insurance and investments, and of course I had the big contracts with the city. So I had money coming in. And I told Ronnie, that's his name, that what we'll do is someday you will work with me and it'll be your business. Again, I didn't know which business I was talking about, because my original thought is he'll be in business with me in the insurance business.
Yeah, got this business here, got a big contract, got a list of clients here, so hey, that'll roll.
Well, it worked out to be, all of that came true, and I thought, well, this is pretty good. So when I had an opportunity to buy the first business, JM, then I took that advantage and bought it. And we have, as I say, 17 people working for us on that side. Long story short, Ronnie came in to the business. He started when he was 14. Literally started when he was 14 working for the company.
Okay.
And so he knew and knows every nuance of the company, which pays off now. And he has different ideas, brings different, what I consider better ideas sometimes than what I had, but he's a lot younger. So anyway, I took this company, and we were doing outside sales, trying to do something different. I wanted to kind of disengage from that one large and spread out. We had an opportunity come to us that the government was looking for minority-owned companies like mine to do construction.
Okay.
All right, there wasn't any. So I had completed all my SBA contracting work and everything. So it came at a good time. So we decided in 2010 to add the NACIS code for construction. Again, that wasn't my business, didn't know anything about it. So when I don't know anything about something, I try to get help.
Right.
And of course, I received a considerable amount of help because one of the people that was assigned the territory that we were in, I grew up with. And it made it very easy to work with him. Okay. And then he introduced me to one of the now supervisors at the SBA office here in Chicago. And she helped. I mean, it was just unbelievable how much she helped to build and keep me on the right track. And that's what you need in business. You need somebody you can trust. You need somebody that will help you through the rough times and talk to you.
Right. If you want to
give
grow.
you good information.
Right.
Not just information, but good information. So, excuse me. Again, we kept hitting these home runs while we worked with the 8A program. I had $60 million worth of contract work. That was my part of a lot of the business that we did. We're still servicing in our an approved 8A business at Scott Air Force Base. We were building structures at Scott Air Force Base, built them in Peoria, built them in Springfield, these large buildings for training, and that helped a lot too. Okay. And we learned. So now we have all of our certifications that we're working with. I don't know how the new administration's DEI portion of it is going to affect not only my business, but other businesses. So as a business person, I have to be prepared to make cuts, gain cuts, but look down the road. Used to be 5 years, now it's 2.
Got it. Right now, from what I understand, you're the largest African-American contractor in southern Illinois.
Outside of Chicago.
Doing federal contracts.
That's right, outside of Chicago.
Now, our current president has said, look, let's change some things here. There's only going to be a certain level of contracts and the amount of money you can make, and we don't care about your color, we don't care about the minority status. We say, look, we just want you to do the best job.
That message is there previously and currently. Okay. I would not have anybody that worked for me not understand that we are under microscope everything that we do, because we only get one chance at doing it. Many Caucasians have an opportunity of waiting for a minority company to fail or to do the wrong thing because they know that the business owner or government's going to allow that particular solicitation to come back, mm-hmm. and they'll give it to a white guy rather than us. So we're aware of all of that, and that's why being in the market that I'm in and being here, I'm shopping for us, our company. Then there's tremendous opportunity up here. And I found that coming up, a lot of the things that I'm doing, other people aren't. And the reason why they don't do them is they're lazy or they have no drive. I mean, at my age of 77, I have a tendency to think I'm going to live forever. Okay. And as long as my mind is good, I'm going to keep doing things. And it seems to work. I've met a tremendous amount of people here in Chicago that I learned from, including you.
Uh-oh, I'm innocent.
Yeah, you're innocent. You did it. But I learned from and are willing to help. And that's important. I've made a lot of money. I'm not going to tell any stories. But I know that at some point I could lose it also, because somebody gives me bad information that I listen to, or, we've had projects that fail, but, they weren't so intense that it cost us a lot of money.
Right.
But I anticipated that, too. So I'm out fishing right now for new jobs, new people. The construction side of my business has the other 20, we have 34 people, I think, 34 people working on the construction side.
Okay.
And we had a little bit better than $34 million last year in sales total. So we're doing kind of good for a minority company. I mean, I can't say that that's a whole lot of money compared to some other companies. But I never thought that I'd be sitting here talking to you and say, we're over $34 million in sales. Because when I bought that company, it was $900,000.
Okay, a little different.
A little bit different. So we brought it on. But as far as my personal scenario and how I got to, I have a lot of faith. I have a lot of interest. I do what other people won't do, and it's all come together. When I talked about being in the insurance business, and I talked about the learning the tactics of being not afraid to talk to somebody, that comes from partly because I was in the Marine Corps, and I learned to fight. I learned to do a lot of different things. And then the insurance business was easy because I didn't worry about talking to anybody. I wasn't afraid. And then when it came down to retiring, I actually sold my business, the insurance investment business, to a fellow that wanted to get into the business. So again, unbeknownst to me, I had money come to me on something like that. And I had talked on a lot of different panels. I've been around long enough. I enjoyed, and that's one of the reasons why we're sitting here right now is when I go to the chamber meetings, Illinois Black Chamber meetings, you're usually featured on it.
Uh-oh.
And I recall you saying once, and I didn't need any money. It was just the fact that you were sitting on the panel and you asked, there probably was 40, 50, 60 people in that room. Does anybody need $1 million?
Hey, you need the money?
And nobody put their hand up but me. I go like, okay. So if he's got $1 million, I want to talk to him. So that's how I got here with you, and it's been a great union at this point.
It's one of those things where you've done a lot in the area, and you've worked with the Illinois Chamber and with Larry, my guy. He'll be here shortly, and we try to get companies and help them to do things more, do things better. My question to you is, for folks listening to the show, what would you do differently? And one is getting involved with government contracts the way to go, or do you just want to go and just find the best way to get things done? And how do you bring family to work with you?
Well, I guess the first question is, how do I think that people should get into business?
How should they shoot for a government contract? Is that the way to go? Or
obviously, that to me is an obvious place to do business. Mm-hmm. I recall over the years how many times we used to call them caravans. The government would come in and say, the government buys from small business $50 million a year, whatever that number was back then. And they buy it from small business. And I thought, well, that was the impetus for this business that I had. I said, well, if that's the case, then why can't I get a piece of that $50 million or whatever that number was? So I would encourage doing what people don't do is, and when I say doing what they don't do, one of the things also that I learned from being in the insurance business is every Saturday I would sit in my office and make phone calls. Even though I had the police department, I'd make phone calls because I knew this time would come someday. And it, again, is paying off because I continue to get renewals. There are many people within Peoria that think I'm still in the insurance business, and they think I'm a police officer. Mm-hmm. Well, neither of those are true as such, but I advertised in the paper on the obituary page.
Okay.
And people would see that, and they, I kid you not, Lester, people still see that ad in the paper. And, you know, newspapers ain't there, but those that they still see that ad. They think the way it was put together. And I got help. Mm-hmm. And I started out with a little bitty one, then a bigger one, and then a bigger one, and then went back, and the one that ran the longest was a small one. But they were still
going
in front of them. I only did that for a couple of years. So yes, getting it, government contracts, you got to be able to sell your business, whatever it is. You should know every nuance of your business. You can't go out there and half step. You got to be able to go out there and deliver your story. Everybody's got a story.
Right.
Everybody's got a story. And you learn to listen and then build from there. And I always thought that the best thing that I could do was to talk to people that I believed that were smarter than me and had more money than I did. I didn't have a lot of time once I had certain things that I'd ask somebody. If they weren't answering those questions right, I'd move on.
Okay.
I'm not going to spend my time on that. It may sound harsh, but that's the truth. And so I say that, again, it's like fishing. You know, even in the Bible, when they talked about casting out a net, what do you get? Or if you sit on the bank and fish with one rod, how many fish you going to catch?
You can't catch one
right?
on one.
So cast out your net, and usually, if you do it right, you'll catch more than one fish. Mm. And if you catch a certain number of them, you get to call. That's what they call. You can pick the ones out you want to deal with. The other ones, they gonna go off and live for another day.
Right.
That's how I thought about that. So my selling was always looking forward. I never looked behind me, and I really didn't care. I came up here once to talk to the major company, Metropolitan at the time, on the seminar that they had up here in a hotel down there on Michigan Avenue. And that was just a few months after I'd gotten into business. But I was making money.
Okay.
And the other question you asked was?
Looking at relationships with family in the business. How do you integrate family?
How do I integrate family? My son, obviously, had a conversation because he wanted to go off and be a Navy SEAL because he was that kind of person, physically, physique-wise, and everything else. But I told him, I said, you know what? I only have one child. And I said, at some point, I'm going to want to quit. Get out of it. So there's not very many people, again, the fish story, there's not very many people in our city or surrounding areas that have a company that is recognized, you know, and if we don't keep it, if you go off and become a Navy SEAL, that's fine. I'll never know where you are. Mm. I said, but this business is going to be here for a while. So I say, you can make the choice. I didn't say don't do it. He's come to me on a number of occasions because he's a millionaire now.
Okay.
My son is, and I'm proud to say that. So he made the right decision. He says that. I made the right decision.
Yeah. Okay, you do a lot of other things, too. You're in the racetrack and the race car.
I drove NASCAR with Richard Petty, the NASCAR, what they call the fantasy drivers, where we went around the country driving NASCARs, testing them and having some trial runs. They set up a course that finally went to air commercially on the back straightaway of the Daytona 500 track. and there was 14 of us. We were the very first people to ever drive that, and they had a little series going for a while. But again, part of my plan was to do that.
Do you think I'd be a good driver?
I'm sorry?
I can see me at Daytona now. Do you think I'd be a good driver?
You want to know? I want to know if you would be a good driver. Hey, you never know. And Richard Petty asked me how come I didn't force my way into NASCAR, and I said because I don't have. Back then, $2 million is what it took to have a car, and of course, that was definitely out. And of course, it was also the edges of the color thing. You know, I mean, the good old boy system worked in that too.
Right.
And I would have been one of the first black young men to drive it. And now they have many more. And they actually have talented young ones. I watch them.
Now, question. We've had this format now with NASCAR here in Chicago. Is that really going to work here? Is this something that people...
This is over. This is the last one this year. There was
Okay.
only going to be 3. And so in June, I think it's June 5th and 6th, they'll come back here and they'll race, and then that's the end of it.
Okay.
They decided that the format is tough to drive a stock car that is maybe 6 to 8 inches off the ground when it's fully set up on the streets around here.
With the potholes?
Everything, you know, they don't fix them. And it's just like driving a dirt track. Now, I still have a race car. I'll show you that when you get down there. But I still have one of my race cars in my shop in Peoria there. So I turned it into a 2-seater so I can give rides. We take it to various places and usually get a donation and give it to an organization. But it is just phenomenal, the reception that they get, because most people, they see them on television, but they don't get to touch them. They don't get to be inside. They don't get to hear the noise. They don't get the
To hear
motion.
the roar.
Yeah, I
coming
mean,
in.
it's, and I built the engine, and it's a 350, they call them 355 Chevrolets.
Okay.
But you're talking about 750 horsepower.
Yeah.
So it's really good. And they're better than I am now at it, but I do that. So the race car, again, was part of that scenario of having and doing the plan.
Yeah. It's kind of like for me. I had to, at least as you grow older, I had to get a race car. So for me, the RX-7, it was my big red convertible, great car that would pick up a girl. Like, okay,
I
and
know.
jump in. And like, hey, this is a nice thing to do.
Yeah,
Fun.
I had a 442 Oldsmobile, 442 Oldsmobile.
Okay.
I love that car.
It's one of those things, you get attracted to cars. But back to you, sir. We've heard a lot about you, what you've done. And for people saying they're going to get into business for themselves, right now you're saying, yes, it's something you can do, but know what you're doing, understand your competition, and make sure you do it better than the next guy.
That's the only way. That's the only way. Again, depending on the business, because there's a number of businesses, and today you can start a business over the internet and be successful at it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I always looked at, what it is product-wise, if it's a product, and then who's your market. But you got to know when to make decisions like, where's my money going to go to? So I recommend, again, I was in a meeting yesterday with a person here in Chicago that is looking at a cannabis distribution. And that is going to be something that to me is a little bit difficult because of the restrictions on it. They talk about black people. That was one of the things that black people could enjoy. Well, first of all, it costs $10,000 to get the application.
Okay.
How many people do we know have $10,000 just to get the application, and then to have it, to get a fully registered thing, you got to have, I don't know if it's still the same thing, but I was told it was over $100,000.
Just to
You
participate.
got $100,000 in your pocket?
Right.
Okay. So that was some things that I always think about, that won't work. You know, somewhere along the line, people will take advantage of you.
Yeah. You're talking about, and especially cannabis, it's a multi-billion, trillion-dollar industry. The money is there. It's a matter, is this what you want to get into?
Right. From our construction side, we've built 2 of them down there in our area. I don't know whether I've told you or not, but I also have an office that we have in Belleville, Illinois.
Okay.
So that one services the southern part of the area, and we've done work down there and continue to do work down there for the electric company, and it's those types of things in the city. There's a couple small cities down there that we're doing contract work for.
Got it. So it's really knowing the niche. Can this thing work here in this area? Now, my question comes back to you from our new president, who's changing the model right now. Does it matter if you have a minority firm?
Well, that's what he's taken away. That's my take. That's the take that I get. He has taken and decided, or they, that they're going to put you on a level field with everybody, is the way that they talk about that. But, again, who's going to gain from the fact that you don't have a leg up when you do your bidding? You know, I can't, you know, if they and it is a game. If they tell me that I need to do a $300 million job, I could do that. Mm-hmm. Because number one, you got to be able to bond it. And bonding is high. Okay? Mm-hmm. And you have to have that bond before you could even start.
Right. Can't get the contract.
Money up front.
Right.
I told the individuals that I was talking to last night that construction is a cash. Most people don't believe it. It's a cash money thing. You have to have the cash to get started. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we've managed to make it through by getting several $1 million worth of bonding, so we can do projects up to $4 million or $5 million, which is not a lot, but if you get a number of them, you know, you can make good money. You can make good, and then these people, normally the ones you pick, will call you back if you do good work. The Riverfront Museum downtown in Peoria, we have done a tremendous amount of work down there, and I thank the administration down there for looking at us, because again, we seem to be the company of what's the word? You know, they like us.
Okay.
So we do a lot of the little things. You know, when it comes to $100 million extension, we can be involved. We'll see what happens, but because I know they want to do more, and we will be affected. We are going to be affected by some of these changes.
Because you'd mentioned last time we had got together, you mentioned to me, I believe Bensonville, talking about places that are looking for new people to do different types of contracts and RFPs that they're putting out. There are contracts all around the state and all around the country. If you know where to go,
yes,
and what people are looking for, you can find opportunities. But it's just not something the doors just don't open for you to get in and get the business.
Well, as I said in the beginning, you have to know somebody in a lot of cases. And then they have to be able to help you, if at all. I mean, either referral or at least get you in front of the people that make the decisions. Because a lot of times the decisions for these larger contracts are made someplace else.
Got it.
Okay? So again, goes back to culling the fish. I know I can't spend $200,000 to get $1 million contract.
So if I'm a young person right now looking to go into business and I'm saying, I want to do something, X, Y, and Z, well, there's a lot of things out there. But to pick the right thing, do I want to do construction? Is that something? It's a huge multi-trillion-dollar industry. There is money to be made. But the question is, what's good for you?
I've said that. I said that in the beginning. That is, you need to look at yourself first. Look within you and go, okay, what do I have to offer? Mm-hmm. When I started the insurance, what do I have to offer? Can I talk? Can I walk? Whatever it is, you got to know yourself first. Once you do that, then you say, okay, what can I use from my body to develop a project or buy a business or whatever? Because there's so many legs to being in business. We haven't talked a lot about financing, but you got to have it. You got to have the ability to get money, especially construction. You have to have it. And then you got to finish jobs on time. Okay.
That is required, right?
Yes. You got to finish them on time. And they got it set up so much to the point where you get penalized if you don't get them done on time. Mm-hmm. So I would start out, I used to have a little saying as, I'm like 2 men and a ladder business.
2 men and a ladder.
Yeah, that was what.
Without a truck.
Without a truck, yeah. But I said it was 2 men and a ladder, and then not too long, maybe they had been there for a while, I saw 2 men in a truck. I'm like, that's pretty good. I see them all. I just come back from Florida. I saw them down there. So they took that franchise, whoever owned it, and made it bigger. Obviously, they came in on a lot of contracts under what Mayflower and all the other large ones did, because I thought it was local. It was somewhere within Illinois that it started. I'm not sure, though. But
okay.
Somebody had an idea. I had an idea when I was racing. My spare time was working on and fixing cars. And that became a business that I developed, that you would go to your office while you were in the office. I'd tune your car up.
Okay.
Yeah. And I had gotten with a company back then that sold the parts, a parts store. So they supplied all of the parts. They got the advertising on the side of the truck, and they got a piece of what I did.
Okay, the good kickback here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was good. Like I said, our conversation about starting a business, buying a business, you have a couple of things. Have to have a money source. So I say that first. You have to have a money source. You have to be able to be fluid, changing of the mind, changing of the pace, and then of course you've got to complete to satisfaction whatever project it is. Good. So when you say business, I look at, well, what kind is it? Building chairs? What can I do?
Right.
Do I want to have hands-on? I don't have hands-on. You ask me to do certain things, I can do it. But I'm not a carpenter.
It's not my zone.
Yeah,
Now, question. We've been talking about business startup, but right now there's a huge difference between male and female.
Oh, yeah.
And right now, I think I even referred one of my clients to you a little while back. She was a bright female, does a heck of a lot of business, definitely building bridges. Never expect to have a female help you build bridges. But women can also do a lot of things. And right now, today, fastest growing industry is female-owned companies.
Again, part of the DEI scenario. Both sides of the street. Because that affects them. Especially if you're dealing with the government. because I'm in competition with them. They're in competition with me. White females, black females.
Okay.
He's hit every button when he says, he wants to take that out. It's not just the colleges. To my knowledge, it's not just certain areas that have a lot of our commercial business, but it is something you have to think about.
Got it. I mean, right now, you've been around for a while. Have you ever seen anything like what we're going through now?
Nope, I have not.
Okay.
I have not. And I've tried to look at it from the standpoint of where do we fit in, my company, where do others fit in a scenario like this? It's like going backwards. Because when I came in, that was the DEI thing was the thing to fight for.
Okay.
And dismantling it at this point with the stroke of a pen is just treacherous. It's not something that should happen.
So is this the real way to make America great again?
I don't particularly see it when you take people out of jobs. I used to ask, and I still ask, and even more so now, where they're going to go. Whatever the job rate for unemployment. Before this show, I was looking at the news, and they talked about the number of people that are not and have been terminated from jobs like the people who take care of Social Security and Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
People that have government pensions. When you reduce your workforce, if it's one of those scenarios where a machine can't take over, but you reduce your workforce, that causes delays, and that causes other things. There's a ripple effect to it. If you're making bread and you were putting out 10 loaves a day, and you take that person out of it, the machine can still do that, but you still need a person to control it. Mm-hmm. And you lay off, you may not be able to get 10 people, 10 loaves of bread a day.
Got it. I've seen Trump. I'm a Republican, and I'm here in the format to say, look, I don't see the Republican Party being the one that I get into when I started. Right now, it seems like it's not the Republican Party, it's the Trump Party.
And you're right. I think that they have basically said that, and he said he liked to be a king. And there's plenty of excuse me. He's headed towards something. He's got something planned along that. And I have never seen people bow down. Judges to him, senators to him, people in the Senate and people in the parties bow down to this man.
Right or wrong. It's like, hey, we don't care, but Trump said it.
Yeah. So I just wonder, again, what the end result's going to be financially for him and his group. They're already billionaires. The people, the small people like us in the middle, are getting less. They're not getting more. I don't believe that. Personally, I don't believe there's an egg problem.
Got it.
I'm going like,
you need some more eggs. Okay, no problem. We'll get it for you. My question, we've talked a long time about what's happening in this country. Right now, you've seen these things, different cycles that happen. But right now, In today's marketplace, what do you tell a young person, young business owner that's trying to expand their business? Are we actually looking to get out of this country, go someplace else, or can we really make it work here?
I think all those things that we've talked about are important. Again, you got to know yourself. You got to know what your possibilities are. And again, it comes back to me if just doing the work. You got to do the work. If you want to stay in business, that's what you have to do. If you want to build a business, you have to build a business. And that's a broad answer, but in this economy, you do what I said in the first place. People that can help you, information that can help you, knowing your business can help you, and then, if you can, get a good mentor.
Are you saying that today's marketplace, it's time to get out?
Are you referring to
I got a business
young person?
No, if I'm in a business right now, is it time just to get out, like time to leave?
I don't believe so. I go down fighting.
Okay, I'm saying you can still make money.
You can still make money. Go down fighting, though.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Something's going to happen, and you'd rather be inside than outside. You made mention of something a few minutes ago that really was also a driving force for me, and that is when it came to, for instance, talking to people about construction project.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we finally got to this point. I always said, we're on the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to certain pieces or a certain status, you then move from outside looking in to inside looking at.
Okay.
Okay. And then the third and final piece of being inside looking at is then you're at the table. You end up at the table. Once you get the table, you can make a difference.
Got it. Just being at the table.
Because I'm at the table, and if you let the other people at the table probably to do whatever, at least you're at the table.
Right. You get a shot.
You are there.
Right.
Okay? But if you're outside, that's why I say if you're outside, you're looking in. If you get in to the room, at least you're in the room.
Got it. Ron, last question. You're a vet. Do you feel we got some problems here with that Trump trying to change his whole format?
Yes. I had, when I was in the Marine Corps, when I was stationed in California, there, the last part of it is I was head of the heavy equipment and material supply portion of it. Again, what did I say that I wanted to do? I wanted to get in the Marine Corps. How did I know, even though I ended up I did some time in Norway doing the same thing, but we were in Norway. But it was good that we actually got women when I was in California in my company.
Okay.
And I was against it, especially the way it was set up, because I figured it was going to happen. And that was the women were on one side of the barracks and the men were on the other side. Same building. Okay. What divided them? A door. They knew the rules about, both women and men knew the rules about getting together. I'll just put it that way.
Got it.
Well, my example came right to us in a command meeting, and that was, this is bad news when we first, because I was in that first batch of people that had to deal with it. Those women, a couple of them got pregnant.
Oh gosh.
And then we had to change a lot of things that we were doing. They could only work to a certain level. They couldn't get under anything or do whatever. But I do believe I'm hearing the cue.
Hey, it's format, Ron. We've gotten a lot of data from you, and I need you for at least about 5 more shows. We got to get a chance to talk about really what's going to happen. But right now we got a changing world, and we need people with your experience.
I think that's the best example of it. And I also think you guys stay focused. Mm-hmm. You can't let the room get full of smoke. You cannot do that. That's what he's doing. To me, it's the old habit of look at my hand here and look at this hand here.
Abracadabra.
Yes.
Thanks, Ron, for data, and always great to get a chance to talk with you.
Same here, my friend.